Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Dr. Glenn Vo, and I have someone who I don't even need to even introduce. But this is Dr. Scott Luna. Scott, what's up, man?
I'm happy to be here. We haven't spoken in a while, and I've been a little bit gone in the summer. I've been traveling a lot, so I haven't been very active in the group. But I'm back. I'm ready to be active. I'm ready to help people if I can. So I'm happy to be here on this webinar here in the evening.
Scott, appreciate your time here. And you know what? Last time we talked, I was actually at the business seminar. And I'll tell you what, man, I've been in practice for 12 years. I did a startup. That startup is 10 years old. You know, I felt like I kind of knew everything, right? But I'll tell you what, when I went to the seminar, and one of the biggest everyone's got their own takeaway. My biggest one was the auditing tool. What you did for auditing. And I do that now. And I'll tell you what, Scott, I felt like I knew everything. And when I started auditing my practice, it was an eye opener.
Yeah, I think a lot of dentists are working really hard, but their take-home pay doesn't correspond to how hard they're working. And even if they're getting bigger in a practice, they I think deep down inside wonder why their paycheck isn't getting bigger. And there's a lot of tools, of course, we talk about in the Business Masters seminar. Auditing is one of them. And for dentists that don't understand how to perform the right kind of audits, it's pretty eye-opening once they start doing that. But I'm very proud of that seminar. It's kind of our flagship thing. I basically tried to take as many lessons as we've learned and put them into a quick, digestible format so we could teach 100 things, in that 2-day seminar. So it's really cool to hear feedback from people like you that you got a bunch out of it. So that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, and guys, if you have not attended that seminar, you definitely need to. We had a nifty thrifty deal. Look, here's the thing. These seminars are always sold out. Mm-hmm. And Chris Hoppower and myself met up with Scott in San Antonio. We had like a great day of just kind of brainstorming, and we were really learning from you, Scott. And you're like, you know what? I want to do something really cool for your members. And you did that. And literally everyone jumped on top of that. So guys, if type in the comments section, if you're liking what you're hearing, break away. Because maybe if we see enough of it, maybe I can code Scott into some kind of nifty thrifty deal here. But Scott, let's go into this.
Well, hold on. You're talking to the wrong person. Understand, we're always sold out. If a bunch of nifty thrifty guys and gals sign up, you're not talking to me. You're talking to my wife, convincing her to add a seminar date for nifty thrifty. I just want you to know that's what's actually happening. Is my wife approving or not approving another seminar? Because you're right, we're always full. But I was happy to do it. We try to help everyone, especially when they're kind of getting communities together and trying to do something cool. We try to be helpful if we can, and so we were happy to do that earlier this year.
And guys, yeah, keep on typing there. I see a bunch of breakaways popping in already. Like I said, Scott sees enough. Maybe he's gonna. Here we go. We love that there. Now, Scott, we're gonna have some questions later. A bunch of people in the audience are already typing questions, but I really want to go into something here that's really important to people like myself. I'm a solo practitioner. And man, there is a lot of DSOs popping up. There's corporate dentistry is just really growing. Every day in my Facebook feed, I see something from DEO or Dicoma or something like that. And seeing these images of people like I have 20 something practices, I have all these big practices. And I'm wondering for myself, where am I going to fit in the future here? Because the landscape of dentistry is changing so fast.
Yeah, it's a great topic. To back up what you're saying, the Dicoma event this past year was the biggest it's ever been. Something like 850 people came, and it was all about DSOs. Dicoma is a great company, by the way, a great law firm. The ADSO event was the biggest it's ever been, I believe. And so these DSO events are huge, yet all the state association events, all the private dentist events are kind of shrinking. And the DSO world is just growing leaps and bounds. And, we're not in generation 1 of DSOs or generation 2 or even generation 3. We're starting to really have some DSOs that, whether we like to hear me say this or not, are providing pretty quality care and pretty good working environments for their dentists and their teams and new grads. A lot of CE, sign-on bonuses. And they're opening beautiful startups. They can afford to lose money for 2 years if they have to open a beautiful startup in the right location. And we private dentists, we can't do business that way. We can't open a startup and lose money for 2 years. So this is happening. We all know it is. It's real. It's growing faster than it's ever grown. And but that doesn't mean it has to be a threat. So let me give you some updates. Maybe that helps everyone. The jumbo DSOs are, of course, continuing to grow at a very fast pace, whether it's the Heartlands, the Pacifics, or the Aspens of the world. And there's others, of course. And they are also investing a ton of money into CE for their dentists and into technology. And they're really got a huge leap ahead of dentistry when it comes to certain aspects of running a practice. Then below them, you've got this other tier of hundreds of offices, and there's a whole lot of DSOs in that. There's DSOs that are only 3 or 4 years old that are already up to 100.
Yeah.
And then you've got a lot of entrepreneurial dentists that might have 5 to 30 locations. A lot. I mean, crazy amounts today compared to 5 years ago. And then you've got a whole lot of new grads that want to have 50 locations. And so it's very interesting because dental practices in some way have become a way to build wealth, like instead of owning stock, right? In Tesla or Apple, they're building dental offices and selling them. And it's also been a way for people to completely ruin their lives, to get super stressed out, to go into debt and fail. So we see both sides of this equation. And on top of all of that, insurance companies now own dental practices. Dental insurance, some of the largest dental insurance companies
in
the country. We got dental offices in Walmarts. We've got a lot
CVS.
of...
I think CVS or has something, or a Smile Direct Club is in like CVS or something.
Yeah, we got direct to consumer, which is backed by private equity, about to go public. We've got companies like the distributors, the big supply companies that are also trying to figure out this new environment. And at the end of the day, the DSOs and the groups are going to gain buying power as they have had, and the companies supporting them are going to have to give preferential treatment to the groups as opposed to the solo dentist. And I think the age of dentistry is going to change a lot. 30 years ago, if you were a dentist, your practice name was John Smith Dentist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we went through all these reiterations of how we're going to name our practice, how we're going to market, what are we going to do. And I believe we are coming full circle, and the future private practice will be John Smith Dentist, that is an expert in a handful of things and that treats people with high customer service and builds relationships in the community. And that's how you thrive, doing specialty procedures. And it's going to be tough. It is going to be tough, for sure, without a doubt. Just like today, it's tough to be a general physician. And when you're ready to retire, you have no one to sell your practice to. Mm-hmm. That, in some extent, is going to affect different parts of dentistry as well. So, this sounds negative, but
I think you're depressing a lot of people right now as they're watching.
All that means is we've got to up our game. We've got to run better practices with better business systems. We have to join together in communities, try to have purchasing power, to try to have shared infrastructure. And at the end of the day, we don't have a dentist retention problem as a private office. Mm-hmm. We're not losing ourselves every year or 18 months. So there are definitely advantages. And while it's not the golden age anymore to be a dentist, that was in 2005. It is the golden age to build, buy, and sell practices. So some of us are going to look at what a lot of our profession looks as negative, and we're going to look at the positive of it and say, what's the opportunity? Just like in a recession, there's a lot of opportunity, right? So a lot of people are focusing on the negative, and they are just blind to the positive. So I think that's where we're at today with the profession, and the private dentist needs to up their game in how they run a practice, No longer do we have a monopoly as private dentists. And
Mhm.
imagine if we had to own a restaurant and we ran a restaurant on our systems today. It may not work. So we've got to also be a CEO now. We just can't focus on being a clinician only. We have to be more than that.
And, I want to kind of dive into that because, you and I both, we get on social media and there's different groups like the Business of Dentistry. I see Chris Hoppower watching, right? Chris, what's up? Say hello. He's watching right now. But, we go into those groups. I go into this group and every day there's like some kind of business problem, some kind of culture problem, some kind of team problem. And, dentists, let's be real here. Most dentists, they don't have the business training, right? They went to school, went to dental school, came out, and basically you it's easy to get loans. You open a practice and then you pretty much wing it, and so getting the business training down, like we take CE to place implants. I just took a surgery CE, but we don't think about taking the CE for the business thing. Let's talk about that, Scott, because I see it all the time in all these groups. Someone's complaining about something and I'm like, wow, I didn't know people had struggles with this.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the most stressful jobs we can have as a dentist is owning a job. What I mean by that is if we're going to have a job, we might as well work for someone else and have them own all the problems. But what I see is a lot of private dentists own their practice. They don't own the practice. They own their own job. If they didn't pay themselves as an associate, there'd be hardly any profit left over as a business owner, right? All the money is basically from their dentistry, and there's not a lot of profit. So, and that is a symptom of us dentists that are focused on the clinical day and how we feel and what we need from the clinical perspective, and nowhere during the day do we turn into a CEO. And so that's interesting because the Heartlands of the world, the jumbo DSOs, what they do when they buy practices is obviously overnight they become a CEO, and suddenly these practices that have been around for 20 years are now much more profitable. And so I think when it comes to training, we have to be both. We have to always be the best clinician we can be, but in the same breath, we have to also talk about being the best CEO we can be. And we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars learning how to be a clinician, and years and years and years of schooling, years of working in practices, yet we're half-assing, being a CEO. And it seems complicated in some ways, but it's not. There are best practices on how to be a CEO, and we got to tailor those best practices to dentistry. And it's amazing how the stress goes away when we do what we know we even have to do. There's a lot of people probably listening to me right now that can think of things right now they know they should have done a long time ago, but they mentally
right there.
They mentally just haven't decided to do it yet, and that's so much more stressful than actually doing the right thing. And it's not hard. Some people need to know what to do. Some people already know what to do, but they need to change their mindset. Some people just will not do it, and they need to hire people to help them do it. But the worst is people that do nothing. Then they just own their own job. The world affects them. They're victims of circumstance, and they go to CE programs maybe as entertainment, if we're honest with each other, as opposed to implementation.
Yeah. Scott, I want to add on to that because there's one thing that you said multiple times that really stuck with me. And that is, as dentists, we are working in our practice and not on our practice, right? And you were talking about just setting aside some time to actually be that CEO, blocking out time or creating that time. Because if you think about it, if you don't do that and you're seeing patients all day and then you're putting out fires, and then you don't have time to put that. I thought that concept was just golden for me because that's actually what I do now. I actually schedule some time to really kind of assess everything because we are the CEO and also the dentist and all these things.
Well, let's put it in a different way. If you were to hire, let's say me, you were to hire me, and I was going to do something for you in your practice, I was going to show up to your practice for a half an hour every day, what would you have me do? You'd probably have me analyze your numbers. You'd have me audit some of the key processes. You'd have me audit some of your phone calls. You'd have me review your marketing results, look at your case acceptance, listen to what people were saying and doing, and you would have me correct the problems that I find. You might also have me lead people and talk to and have meetings with people. We maybe pick an implementation project together once a month, and I would help. I would do it. I would implement it. And
so when can I hire you then? Because that sounds really good.
You don't need to hire me. You don't need to hire me because that takes a half an hour a day. And all you got to do is write down those things that someone should do in this business. This $1 million business better have someone leading it, right? So you just write down the things you got to do, and you take a half an hour every day and you just do them. And it's amazing what a simple change in mindset can create in wealth. Most of us in dentistry focus on what to do. We're always seeking the next answer, how to do this, how to do a Facebook click funnel set of ads, or how to, what do I say on the phone? Like it's all the what, the what, the what. The what is so easy. The what means nothing if it's never done. It's the doing that we need to focus on. And the doing is even easier than the what. The what, you can get the information by going to a seminar. Doing it is just dedicating time. Like, we know we should work out a half an hour every day. It's not hard. Just go to bed a half an hour earlier, wake up a half an hour earlier, and work out a little bit, and you'll live like 10 years longer, right? It's not a difficult concept. It's the mindset that's the issue. So
why is that that problem, Scott?
We all struggle with mindset, right? The problem I have is when someone is stuck in life, whether that's financially or with happiness, whatever it might be, health, and they are not triggered for a massive change in mindset. And that person, and this is the danger of social media, that person will go on social media and talk about how bad their September is, and everyone will say, oh yeah, September this, September that. And it kind of feeds into, okay, I should expect September to be bad, right? This whole mindset problem with social media, this groupthink, is dangerous. There are a lot of dentists I know that take home over $1 million a year take home pay in a little 6-op practice, and they're not doing some high dollar dentistry. They have a different mindset. They have a different set of habits. What they do every day for just a half an hour every day changes everything in the practice. So I see that as kind of the next step for private practice dentistry, is building a new set of habits on how we run this company. Because I can guarantee you, a dentist with the right set of habits and a decent amount of knowledge will outrun and outperform any sort of absentee-owned practice that has turnover with dentists, right?
I 100% agree with that. And guys, we have a whole bunch of people watching on here. I know you guys aren't here for me. I know you're here for Scott. So you have any questions, here's your chance. Type in the comments section your questions, and I'll feed them to Scott there. And if you like what you're hearing, you guys got to type in breakaway here. So Scott, there's something that's on your website, and I read it and I'm like, man, that is totally what you're about. And I'm going to read it real quick. And that is hard lessons learned, extraordinary success achieved. So let's kind of dive into that statement there. I mean, you not only walk the walk, you talk the talk here. And so that's the thing whenever we go on social media, right? Or we take CE courses, there's so many people who teach practice management, business, marketing, and whatnot. But then you kind of dive in and try to see what the track record is, right? And the thing I've always respected about you, Scott, I'll make a confession right now. I'm just going to go ahead and make it a confession to everyone. I learned about Scott when he did a thread on Dental Town. It was like probably the most popular thread. It was the breakaway thread. And I literally copied every single post that Scott wrote. It was like probably this thick here. But the thing is that, Scott, you kind of went through that journey and you did it multiple times. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about kind of your experience and how that's helped you shape your seminars, like the business seminar. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I started as a private practice dentist, except when I opened my practice, I broke my back, and I was in a wheelchair for 12 years, up until about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So I couldn't be a dentist, and here I am in debt from the practice, in debt from school. I'm in debt from a house. My wife is pregnant with our first child. She's sick, and I immediately had to become someone that had associate dentists. And we were seeing 350 new patients a month, which is amazing. And there's reasons why that happened that I've repeated. But within 4 years, we had 10 dentists working for us in 3 locations. And I made millions and lost millions in those first 4 years. My second year as a dentist, I took home over $1 million working 1 day a week. My third year, I lost about $1 million when I built out a lot of infrastructure, and I eventually sold those 3 practices. What I learned was I feel like 10 years of lessons a year, because we were seeing 700 new patients a month between the 3 locations. And every time I expanded, things broke, and I had to basically innovate how we did everything, how we scheduled, how we answered the phone, how we do billing, how we even manage people. So I felt like I learned a lot. Then I went and opened 7 more practices as an absentee owner, 5.5 hours away from where I lived, and I didn't have any infrastructure, and I just assumed they performed the same. And boy, was I wrong. I lost millions. And I did so not because they were bad offices. I mean, we had high patient reviews, beautiful facilities, high new patient flow. We did a lot right. But what we failed to do is figure out how to have an absentee-owned practice with a new associate dentist produce enough to pay the bills. And I had to go in and leave my family. And here I am again, still with a broken back, and now with 3 kids. And I had to leave my family and move to Dallas for 3 months and again innovate, reinvent everything we did so that any dentist could achieve a kind of baseline level of success. And so that was very taxing and difficult, because imagine losing 120 grand a month, like how that feels. And then imagine your wife asking you, what the hell do you do? I told you to quit. We were good. And now you went double or nothing, and it's nothing, right? And so those lessons were very important and very valuable, because in that failure, we saw more of the truth. You see, too many people think they know some secrets.
Yeah.
But the reality is their systems, their secrets are based on a very small sample size in a very small region. And the real secrets, or let me just call them truths, are easier to see when you've got a large sample size, a huge patient flow in lots of locations across the country. And so we then had a couple hundred locations across the country, eventually started to manage. And today we're connected to 18,000 locations. Our company has 900 employees or so, 18,000 practices that use us for a variety of things. But we will answer, for example, we might answer 50,000 phone calls next month in 1 month. So in 1 month now, we have a sample size that would take a dentist an entire career to get. We have it in 1 month. So the lessons we learn are truths, they're facts, they're laws, and they're not based on what I think works. I'm proven wrong about half the time. Half the time I'm right, and I'm pretty proud of that. Half the time I'm right. Half the time I'm proven wrong by our data, and it's amazing when you're proven wrong how simple the law actually is, and how the noise of our thinking and what other people tell us influences what we think we should do. Like, for example, direct mail is stronger now than it's been in ages. But when I listen to our profession, direct mail is dead. But they're not looking at the data. Direct mail is wildly profitable right now when done properly. So those simple laws are easy for us to find, and I just happen to be one person that's decided to teach them to people. I have an abundance philosophy. I think that I'm not competing against anyone that goes to our seminars, and I've always been a teacher, and I enjoy it, and it's profitable for us to do, and it feels good to be really good at something, and we're really good at teaching, and so we choose to do it. So I teach it. I don't know a lot of other people that are teaching it. Most of those people that have some of those laws or just building DSOs, but we choose to teach it.
Well, Scott, I love that. And that's the thing too. I'll say from a personal standpoint, when I came up, Chris and I came up to visit Scott, and before we jumped on, I just told him that just in a little conversation, he gave me such really good business advice, not just on a practice, but just business in general. And that little kind of, little blurb that he said just in between us taking a sip of our drinks really impacted me. And, I want to kind of go into, and something you told me too, Scott, is about, look at the track record, right? Look at the track record, look at what someone has done, because there's a lot of people out there that advice, especially on social media, this, right? It's free, right? There's too much of it. There's stuff spitting out everywhere. And then you really have to look back and say, okay, well, where's that coming from there? And what I'm really excited about is actually you got on a lot of people who I considered mentors, people I looked up to. And you actually bring in all these people to an event in Las Vegas, right? Everyone Vegas here. But, you bring in there, and let's talk about that. Let's talk about some of these people like Christopher Phelps, like Bruce Baird, like all these people. Let's talk about that. Why you decided to kind of bring these, I would say, like they're pioneers, they're trailblazers. Why did you decide to bring them in this one place with you for this event?
Yeah. So if no one's heard of this, what Glenn's talking about is our Business Immersion Summit that we're hosting in Las Vegas at the end of September. I think there's already like 500 people or so, I think, that are registered for that. I hate most continuing education and seminars in dentistry. And I hate it because I don't want to fly somewhere, sit down, do a bunch of rah-rah, jump up and down, hug each other, listen to stories about someone's kids, and learn 3 things over 2 days. I want to learn 100 things. I don't want any of the rah-rah. I want to be given the systems as they are. I want them to work. I want them to be implementable. And so I hate most events. But I really respect some people in dentistry and what they've accomplished, but what they really more so than accomplished, what they figured out and how they teach it. And I did my best to bring them all into one place, because I thought it would be, my thesis was if we can create a summit with the very best and the CEOs actually teaching it instead of their people teaching it, we might create a conference that's finally worth going to. And I don't mean that no conferences are worth going to, but I would say most are probably not worth going to. I don't want my hygienist learning how to sharpen instruments. I mean, come on, right? So that's what I did. So if anyone wants to read all the people, it's at summit.dentalwhale.com, summit.dentalwhale.com. And we brought on, you mentioned a few, Bruce Baird. We got David Phelps, Chris Phelps, Wendy Briggs, John Meese, Laura Hatch, Brian Kaleo, Tanya Lathier, Chris Morty. We've got like Mark Hostis, the CEOs of the most successful consulting groups in dentistry, and not all of them. There's some others that are awesome that aren't in the summit, but I don't think anyone's put together all these people in one event over 2 days, giving 40 courses ever. And it is really kind of a testament to my philosophy. Teach me 3 things an hour, and make sure the very best person that has all the track record and know-how is doing the teaching. And don't create noise about trying to promote other products and services and bullshit like that, excuse me. But just give me the content. I paid to be here. I'm not going to buy much more. Just give me the content in a way I can understand. And that's what we've done. We've done our very best to try to put this together. So my opinion is it's like the practice management conference of the year to go to because of how we've structured it. The most bang for the buck in Vegas, which is really cool for the team.
Nice hotel too. You guys picked a really great hotel.
And a lot of people don't know that. So the summit's Friday, Saturday, but there's something very special on Thursday.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know if it's on the website. Some of these leaders, I call them giants, right? Like Bruce Baird, right? Like giants. They've moved their normal private events to the Aria on Thursday.
Yeah.
We basically worked out a deal with them where they said, look, if we can use this facility, we're already going to be here. we'll bring our event on Thursday, the day before, and we will cover all of our attendees getting the summit for free.
That's amazing.
So if someone's going to go, for example, to the Wendy Briggs Hygiene Explosion event on Thursday, they can bring their whole team. It's very affordable. And then they get into the summit Friday, Saturday at no extra cost, which is, to me, actually, you know, I'm excited about all the private events, but I'll tell you, a lot of dentists need Wendy Briggs's event. They need to bring their hygiene team and have them completely upgraded overnight. And it's hard. Let's be honest. It's hard to find conferences that are good for the team, that are about practice management, you know, without spinning an arm and a leg. So this is a really cool kind of thing for the team, I think, as well. It's not just for dentists. But anyway, that's the summit. I'm very proud of it. I'm the one personally running the whole thing. So I talk about it all the time in our company, because I'm the one managing all the logistics and making sure that the content is really rich and good.
Well, guys, you know, if you've been to any of Scott's seminars, right, you know the quality of the seminar, so you know what to expect at this event here. And we'll talk about that event a little bit more, but we actually have some questions here. And you just said something a while ago about give me 3 things, right? Give me 3 things that I can learn at this event, right? And hopefully, guys, if you've learned 3 things already by just listening to Scott here, type in the comments section, breakaway. But we got some questions, Scott. Can we just throw some questions up?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
Okay, so this doctor's asking, why do systems fail?
Oh, well, typically a system will always fail if you give it enough volume or if it's not maintained. So for example, a stupid example. If you only see 2 patients a day, and your system for scheduling is, Mary, always put 1 patient in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, right? Well, that's easy until you don't check that Mary does it. And then it could fail, and that has to do with auditing, because Mary's a human, and humans don't always follow a system, because human nature says, I want to do what feels good. I don't want to do what I have to do, right? So not auditing can basically take away the accountability to keep the system going. But then volume can screw it up too. What if there's more than 2 patients a day? What if we have 50 patients a day? Now suddenly we better have an upgraded system to handle the volume. And so that is called scalability. And there are scheduling systems. There are systems for presenting finances, for answering the phones, systems for even doing hygiene checks. I can check 6 hygienists in a practice myself, 6 at once, because the system has been changed. So it's you know, I think Dental Economics years and years and years ago did a story on my first practice talking about how we were seeing 300 to 400 new patients a month. Mm-hmm. And I got hate mail. Like, this was before social media, hate mail. I got it. It was hate email. I got it from dentists saying things like, I'm a disgrace to the profession. There's no way I'm doing a complete exam. There's no way we're doing full mouth probing. Shame on me. And they had no clue that, yes, we see 400 new patients a month, but you know what? It's a 90-minute appointment. And we do full mouth probing, and we do diagnodent, we do intraoral images, and we do a full exam. And we do a prophy if they need it. And how can I do that? Because I've got a different kind of system. So a lot of dentists and business owners basically are blinded a little bit because they're only looking at life through their system's glasses.
Right.
They think if it won't fit their system, it's impossible. It doesn't fit. So those are two reasons why systems can fail. Number one, it's a good system, but we don't understand how to maintain it, how to audit it. And number two, our volume outgrows the system, and we fail to upgrade the system to handle the volume.
I love that. He over-delivered there, whoever asked that question there. We got some more questions right here, and this is kind of semi-personal, but let's go ahead and throw it in there because I'm actually interested too.
All right.
Scott, what are your daily rituals?
All right. So I wake up at about 5 in the morning without an alarm clock. I work out a bit every day because if I do every day, I will be healthier, happier, and live longer and have more energy. Then I've got 5 kids. I wake 4 of them up. I get 2 of them dressed. I do 3 of them hair. I do their lunches. Sure enough, one of
Wait,
them.
wait a minute. That sounds like regular people stuff, Scott Luna. Come on.
Hey, it's important to know. I do their homework. I take them to school. I do. And then I start work usually at about 8. And in the first hour of my workday, I have blocked off for nothing, because in that hour, I'm going to do all the things that pop up that I didn't understand were going to happen, or the things that are very important that aren't fires to make it onto my schedule. Then I work from 9 until 2 straight, and I eat a very light lunch. I do not eat breakfast. So I do intermittent fasting every day. And then from 2 to 3, I work, but I have nothing on my schedule. Again, to handle what's happened in the day, so that I end the day fully finished with all the important things that I need done. I end the day at 3 because I'm going to pick my kids up from school at 3:30, and I'm going to play with them every day. And I also coach soccer. I'm part of a men's annual religious retreat. I'm on our Catholic school board for my kids, and I'm on the dental school board. I go out with my wife once a week. I go out with my friends once a week. And when we go out, we have probably too much fun. We have these kind of habits. When it comes to the business side, my business rituals is I do a series of audits. I have a working to-do list for the things that are not important but are noisy. I put them on paper so that I don't get deafened by their noise. They don't take up emotional space when I write them down and know that I'm going to get to them. I do quarterly strategic planning with my top people, where we really talk about the big picture and we work our way backwards to what do we need to do the next 3 months to reach the big picture. And then those things, those quarterly goals, we meet monthly on to update where we're at. We meet weekly to see if there's any sort of fire that's preventing us from doing it. I actually had 3 of those meetings today, quarterly meetings, actually today. So what that does is it keeps us focused on the big picture. We're always chipping away at the big picture because we have these quarterly down to monthly down to weekly meetings and goals. As a dentist, maybe a dentist would say, you know what, someday I want to own, I'm just going to, let's say they want to own lots of practices. Maybe someday I want to own, in 10 years, I want to own 10 practices and make $10 million. All right. Okay. Well, work that down to what do you got to do the next 3 months? And I think that it gives a lot of focus. Otherwise, we might go years saying, well, I haven't found a practice. I don't know if I should do a startup. I haven't learned how to do one. And then I lost my hygienist. And the noise of the day drowns out the big wealth building opportunities. And I mentioned feeding my kids and doing their hair and helping them with homework because I'm worried most dentists will die, and on their tombstone, it should read dentist. That's all they did in life. They're a dentist. And I feel dentistry, or any job, earns a living that should provide for a life. And we're lucky as dentists to be able to earn a living doing good. Doing something that we made this artistic in a way, it's engineering in a way, it helps people, and we're stable. And so we're very fortunate that in our country, dentistry is that way. But gosh, I don't want my life to be dentistry. I want to have a life outside of dentistry, and that gives me a ton of focus. I could make more money if I didn't stop working at 3, but I don't need to make more money. I need to make more life, right? Yeah. So that's just kind of a glimpse, I guess, into some of my rituals.
I have a big smile on my face because when Chris and I came up and visited you, we thought it was going to be a bunch of business and a bunch of business and dental stuff. And really it was a lot of that. Right. And it's so important. It's so important. And, people are probably listening right now. They're like, you know what? I want more of that, Scott, like what you just said there. And there's actually an opportunity for more of that, right? And the retreat, right? Is that what you got?
Yeah. Once a year, we do what we call our transformation retreat. This last retreat It was me and 4 of my team members over 4 days with 6 dentists, from 7:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. And we dive pretty deep into that kind of stuff. It's amazing that a lot of us know what we need to do in business and we know what we need to do in life, but our mindset is kind of paralyzing us from doing it. And sometimes it's about we don't know what to do, but a lot of times it's not about not knowing. It's about not owning the accountability of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so in our retreat, we kind of walked through. I've kind of engineered a way to create this kind of mindset, this accountability that I've personally used to help me do things that are bigger than what I was doing currently. And so, yeah, so we do that, but we only do it about once a year. We just did it. I don't know if we have one scheduled yet for 2020, but it's a pretty cool retreat.
Well, guys, if you keep on typing breakaway, maybe we can convince Scott to do a few other ones there. But Scott, I want to ask you, this is a question for myself here. So I just listened to all your rituals and all those things that you jam-packed in there. What about time for you to improve yourself? Like you're such a big reader. Like where do you fit that in? Like just working on yourself, not saying not working on the business, not working on breakaway, not working on anything. I'm talking about like maybe just working on yourself, whether that would be just listening to some podcasts or reading some books or doing some training that other coaches are doing. When do you have time for that, or do you schedule time for that?
Yeah. So this might come across wrong. So there was a point in my career where I was a very avid reader. It all started my senior year in dental school. And I was just hungry for knowledge. And what I realized is what I was hungry for was how to do things. And once I knew how to do enough, actually, I know how to do way more than I'm able to do, right? Then it wasn't about learning how to do more stuff. It was about learning how to get myself to do what I already knew I needed to do. And I was still reading, but eventually I quit. I quit reading. Every now and then I might pick up a book. I might be interested in an event, but what I've found at now, the level I'm at now, at least, is what's really important to me is to have a community around me that keeps my fire lit. It took me years to know how to light my fire of drive and of wanting to be better. And what I realize now is what's more important for me is to make sure it doesn't die. So when I'm surrounded by great people, they inspire me, and they also, in a way, indirectly hold me accountable. And that is key for me today. Now, I am involved with a group that's very religious in the Catholic Church, and that is one way I have my fire lit for faith and for how I live. But I'm not some holy roller that says everyone should be that way. But that is one community that I'm part of. Now, I'll tell you, you mentioned something. How do I find time? I think that is a very valid statement that's completely bullshit. So we have way more time than we need to accomplish what we want. Let's use a stupid example of working out. It takes a half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
We're watching Facebook videos for an hour on our phone. We're watching Netflix for 2 hours. We're doing nothing. We have plenty of time to be healthier and happier for the rest of our life, to work out a half an hour. We have plenty of time to shut down our practice, heaven forbid, for 3 days and go to an event we need to go to. We have plenty of time to end our practice earlier in the day and think we might make less money, but now we can have more of a life. And I think what we'll find, and what I've experienced so many times with me and with our dentist, is when we cut back practice time, it's amazing how most of the time our production doesn't go down.
Yeah.
That we're kind of used to producing our number in the hours allotted. And when the hours shrink a bit, it's amazing how we suddenly find a way to produce the same number. And when those hours shrink, that basically adds more time to do important things, to have a life, but only if we choose to. Yeah. Right? Because sometimes with more time, we just watch more Netflix. So, mindset, I think, is, I don't know. I shouldn't even say half the game. It's a big part of the game.
Yeah.
Mindset.
I
How
love
to
it.
do something is also a big part of the game. We don't want to accidentally be really good at doing the wrong thing. So we definitely need to know how to do the right thing. We don't want to win the wrong game, right?
Right.
It's kind of like we're really good at swimming really fast, and suddenly we put our head out of the water and we're like way over to the left on accident. We don't want that. So we have to understand how to do the right thing in business, in clinical dentistry, in life. Understanding what to do is important, but after you know what to do, it's easy to learn that. Doing it is the right mindset. That's where I think a lot of us can struggle sometimes.
I love it. I love it. So I'm going to take some more questions. We can talk about mindset and Scott's Ridge all day long. I mean, I'm fascinated by that. Probably next time I see you, Scott, I'm going to corner you. We're going to have more of a conversation here. But, you know, I want to respect everyone. They have all these questions. They've been waiting. So I'm going to put
I'm sorry. So I'll get a short answer.
Here. No, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. I want, and also Scott is a favorite. I'm actually really grateful. Thank you so much, Scott, for jumping on, because this is normally his family time. And here I am trying to invade into it. I'm going to have to apologize to your wife when I'm back down there. So I'm going to put this question on here. And this doctor's asking, how do you audit a staff without being in their face and nagging?
Yeah, it's actually refreshingly simple. There are certain things we can audit that we can pull from the software. For example, we can see if we collected the money when we should have. We can see if we reappointed the patient for pro fee, if we posted the procedures as complete. Did we get the HIPAA form signed? Did we get the consent form signed? There's a list of things we can come up with. And we can audit adjustments, we can audit write-offs, and just a moment of auditing the write-offs once a day might prevent a $500,000 loss over our career, right?
Yep.
And I say that with fact because we see it. I tell one of these stories in our seminar about how someone literally lost $500,000 from write-offs. So that's simple. It's not in anyone's face. It is auditing the software. When we find a problem, we then must engage in the conflict of the problem. The first time we engage doesn't feel like conflict. It's like, oh, I noticed this. Can we correct it? The second time we engage, it's more about training. Okay, it's happened twice now. Look, let's talk about how we're supposed to do it, the training. The third time we engage, it's all about conflict. We've talked about it once. We trained on it twice. It's happened again. Understand it can never happen again. If you want this job, you have to be able to do this thing properly. Without that conflict, without getting in their face, we never have the change.
Yeah.
So that's simple to audit what's in the chart. Then there's other things we got to audit that's not in the chart. We can't pull up in Dentrix if the restroom's clean, right? We can't see if the light bulbs are working. We can't see if our hygienists are taking intraoral images and saying what we want them to say, and if our treatment coordinator is saying what we want them to say. So for that, we are physically going to have to walk through the office with a simple sheet of paper and check these important things that we can only see with our eyes and hear with our ears. We can't pull on a report. And that only takes maybe 3 or 4 minutes a day. But without doing it, we might be a practice that always has a dirty restroom or an unstocked coffee bar or a treatment coordinator that says the wrong thing our entire career. And so that is kind of a simple way of how we can audit people.
And you know what? I'll say this, that at the seminar that I went to, that was the number one takeaway for me, right? The number one takeaway, because a lot of times if you had a practice for as long as I have, I mean, not as long as other people, but practice has been open for 10 years. Everything's kind of like almost a lot of things are on autopilot. It was until I actually looked at it. Like I looked and I did the audit sheet, and I actually use Scott's audit sheet that if you go to the seminar, you get this awesome download, probably like the best thing ever I got from a course. And I use a lot of those things, and little thing like, oh, is the air vents clean or whatnot? And I started just kind of walking around like, oh my gosh, hey, did you know about this? And they're like, oh yeah, that's dirty right now. Oh my gosh. It's like little things like that. And those little details, patients see that. I mean, you mentioned the bathroom. I'll tell you what, if I go somewhere and the bathroom's dirty, I probably won't come back. Those things are really important there. So I wanted to
But Glenn, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to make sure those that have never kind of heard this stuff understand. There's some things we audit that seem very minor. And there's some things we audit that are massively important, like did we collect the right amount of money, and did we write stuff off or not, right? All of those things, though, are massively important. Even the minor things. When there's 2 or 3 minor things that are bad, it creates a major perception problem in the patient's mind, and it erodes away the culture where it becomes acceptable to half-ass stuff in the practice. So as simple as checking the darn restroom is really more. You know, there's a great YouTube video of a general saying, you want to be really successful in life, start by making your bed every morning.
Oh yeah.
Right? Everyone's probably seen that. So it's not about how important it is to have a made up bed. It's about the entire mindset that's created after that and the problems we see and prevent when we have the discipline to do it. So anyway, I just want to make sure I feel
yeah, no, absolutely. And you know, this is kind of a funny question, but I want to bring this back up, and I guess it really affected this doctor for him to want to post this. But he says, okay, this is going back to when you were having all those practices. So what does losing $120,000 a month really look like? Where do those losses happen? Too much cost, not enough production, or both? What is it?
Yeah, so we opened 7 practices at once. Every Monday an office opened. And looking back, it was a terrible decision. And the decision wasn't bad because of 7. It wasn't bad because they were necessarily startups. It was bad because of how we timed it. By doing it all at once, I had to hire 7 dentists out of 1 applicant pool. Most people have a hard time hiring 1 dentist out of 1 applicant pool. I had to hire 7. And on top of that, I had no infrastructure. I had no training. I was not on site. I didn't have like the DSO level of support. And we had dentists, associate dentists in beautiful, brand new facilities, seeing 100 new patients a month, producing 15 to 20 grand a month on a guaranteed salary. And so I never projected 15 grand in a month off 100 new patients. And so I was extremely unprepared for the lack of productivity we had in the offices. And our fixed costs were there. I had to pay a dentist in a brand new startup a guaranteed pay for a while, and we had to employ people. We had loan payments, and these fixed costs, you know, I needed like 40 grand a month in collections, not 15 grand a month in production. And so multiply it times 7, and we're losing a fortune in beautiful offices with high patient flow. And so what I did is I moved there, and I basically had to reinvent some of our systems so that these specific dentists could be more productive without maybe changing what they did. So could I change how our payment option form looked to get higher case acceptance? Could I change how we handled the phone to get even more new patients? Or could we change what we did on the billing and insurance side to reduce our write-offs and adjustments? And so I basically tried to innovate everything around the practice, and I had massive failures during the first year or 2 of those practices. But after I changed it, it took 3 months, and we went from losing 120 grand a month to making tens of thousands a month. And that was life-changing for me, because I was on the road to dying financially if I didn't stop the bleeding. So then a year after that, we basically spent using we used those practices as, I mean it in a respectful way, as kind of guinea pigs to new ideas and new systems and call center ideas and things like that. And that eventually added a ton of value and a ton of content to our company, to what we taught dentists what to do and not to do. And we eventually had a group ownership seminar that came out of our experiences in owning a group and expanding it.
You know, I want to add to that, like for what they asked in that question there, is that manual that we got when we attended the course, that's stuff that actually you tested and you used. That it's tested theory. It's not just theory. It's actually tested techniques that are in that manual there. So, you know, that was pretty awesome there. Now we have another question here, and this is a marketing question. We're going to change up gears a little bit. So patient demand seems to come in waves. So when are the best times to do marketing? Target the slow months consistently? Or, you know, what they're saying is, should they target the slow months or do it consistently? So that's marketing.
Yeah, there's actually several questions in that question. So first of all, there in most demographic regions, there are definitely there's seasonality to patient flow and how well marketing works. In most neighborhoods, the best times of the year to market are January, February, March, and August. Sometimes in the summer. And in most neighborhoods, the very worst time to market is into April, May, and especially December's terrible, and September can be bad as well. And that's all based on data, facts. You know, one of the companies we own is probably, if I had to guess, the third or so largest comprehensive marketing firm in dentistry. We've got millions and millions of data points. We literally hired university statisticians, like I'm not kidding, legit, from university, away from the university, to analyze our data points to try to help us understand what works and what doesn't. So having said that, that's the first answer to the question. The second answer is we're asking the wrong question. So should we target slow months? Should we market consistently? We can't ask that question until we've answered a different one. Is our practice schedule open or closed? If we have an open schedule, the most extreme of that is a startup practice. Mm-hmm. Then our goal is to fill the schedule. And in a slow month, we better double down on marketing, or we may not have anyone show up. That is completely different than a practice that has a full schedule. A practice has a full schedule. Every time they bring in another patient, they're technically taking up the space of an existing patient. And so our goal in marketing is not to fill the schedule, get volume. It's already full. Our goal is to make sure that the people we're bringing in spend more money than the current patient base, which is why some of those full practices should do things like implant marketing, for example. Mm-hmm. And so in a full practice, we actually probably want to stop marketing in a lot of ways in the slow months and put that budget into the great months. So not market in December, and take those marketing dollars and put them into January, which is a great month. And I think some dentists are surprised when I say December is a terrible month, because most practices are slammed in December.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, they're not slammed because of their marketing results. Patients are getting marketing not just from us in December. They're getting Restoration Hardware catalogs and Facebook ads of nifty briefcases and trendy shoes and watches, and they're drowning in marketing messages. Dental marketing does not work very well in December. So anyway, that's how I would answer that question.
Man, so hey guys, so many good questions here. I can't get them all, but hopefully Scott can come back and look at them. But Scott, I want to kind of come back. I mean, first of all, I want to thank you for just jumping on. I got so many pearls from you. And guys, if you felt like you got a lot of great advice and pearls, type in the comment section, breakaway. And, speaking of like the event that's coming up, I mean, there's going to be, I can only imagine how much good advice, good stories, how many pearls you can get from that event. And let's talk about that event again. So that's going to be in what month is that going to be, that event there?
It is September the 27th and 28th. It's a Friday, Saturday.
Saturday. At the Aria. So it's right around the corner. And what is the cost for that event?
It's $795, I think.
$795 for a 2-day event.
Yeah, 40 courses are there. Every hour we'll have about 3 takeaways from each course. And for those people that are really serious about it, there's also a VIP option where you can have preferred seating. You can have lunch with all the KOLs and the speakers and have Q&A with them. You also get a recording, a video and audio recording of all 40 courses to take home. So there's some options there. And of course, that's the Friday, Saturday. On the Thursday, there's these private events. John Meese, W Production, Wendy Briggs, Hygiene Explosion. There's a Chris Phelps, Principles of Persuasion workshop. There's also a David Phelps, Freedom Founders event. And then I'm giving the Breakaway Business Masters course, the course you went to on that Thursday as well. So there's a lot going on. Again, summit.dentalwell.com if you want to read about it. But anyway, I'm really excited about the event.
Well, I mean, that's a great deal, but Scott, I mean, you're in the Nifty Thrifty Dentist group, Scott. I want to put you on I'm gonna put you on the spot right here. So
no, I know.
You stop right now. What can you do here, Scott? Come on. I know I nifty thrifted you for your business seminar there, but I'm gonna have to do it because so many people are jumped on right now. It's an awesome event. Scott, what can you do for us? What can you do for us?
I knew you were gonna ask me. It's not even up to me. I know that sounds kind of weird, but it's not. But ahead of this, we already created a code for the Nifty Thrifty group to save a little bit of money. We have it created. Yasmin in our company is the one that creates this. So yes, Glenn. We have a code. If people, it's not even expensive as it is, $795 for all this. But yes, if people want to save $100,
yes, the drink's right there.
Then they put in the code Thrifty, and they save $100, and that's the deal. But I'm telling you, you're kind of a little bit late to this thing. I think we got about 500 or so registered, and we don't have room for. I think it's like between 550 to 600. So, and it's a month and a week away or something like that. So if someone's serious about this, I hate to sound like that guy though, but the reality is
that's the truth.
Almost full. Like that's the reality. So, if you're serious about it, then you need to make the decision yes or no soon. And if it's no, that's fine. If it's yes, then just sign up soon. I think we'll probably be sold out here in the next couple of weeks. It's not going to be tomorrow, but it's probably going to be in the next couple of weeks.
And guys, there's a whole bunch of people watching right now, and you're going to take advantage of that code. And it is going to be sold out very soon because Nifty Thrifty Nation just got that promo code there. $100 off. It's already cheap, guys, but an extra $100 off. It's in Las Vegas. I don't care where you live. There's always flights to Las Vegas from where you live there. $100 off. I'm super excited about that, Scott. And you know what, guys? Keep on typing breakaway in the comments because I'm going to show Scott later how many of those comments are, and we'll talk to him about more discounts. But anyways, Scott.
You got to talk to my wife. You got to talk to my wife.
I know. Before we jump off, Scott, I want to give you the last word here. Any kind of parting comments before we jump off here?
Yeah, please know that I mean very well with this. But everyone listening to me right here, in the most respect, I mean such respect. Get off your ass in life and finally pull the trigger on a few of those extremely important things you need to do, whether it's health, relationships, whether it's financial, whether it's practice. Quit waiting and wasting and just do it. Just change your mindset. Don't waste your money and waste your time on things that are not adding value to your life. Don't put off the most important things. Just do it See, the right time to do the right thing is always right now.
Mm-hmm.
So please just do the right thing right now and make a list and just do it. Quit using your life as a Netflix channel of what you might someday want but never get there. Just do it. So with all due respect.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Scott Luna there. Scott, thank you so much for jumping on. I appreciate it. And guys, thanks for watching. I'll put the website for the summit and also the promo code as well. Thanks for watching. Scott, thank you again for jumping on.
All right. Best of luck, everyone. Thank y'all so much.